This time on episode 530 of Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're going to discuss Season 1, Episode 3 of the Disney Plus miniseries, Agatha All Along, through many miles of tricks and trials.
I'm Damien the DM from Adventures in Aurelia, a collaborative storytelling experience told through a game of Dungeons & Dragons, part of the Gonna Geek Network, just like the show you're checking out now. Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other epically geeky shows at GonnaGeekNetwork.com.
Raised on X-Men, empowered by the Avengers, strengthened by the Defenders, webbed by Spider-Man, adopted by the Fantastic Four, and forged by S.H.I.E.L.D. Stand by for your Marvel debriefing.
And now it's time for your Marvel debriefing. I'm Agent Lauren.
I'm Agent Michelle.
I'm Agent Chris.
And I'm executive producer of the show, Director SP.
Welcome to Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. This show is recorded on Saturday, September 28th, 2024, live from the Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. studios and broadcast from that rest area down the road for me that hasn't been open for 10 years. And Michelle, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about Through Many Miles of Tricks and Trials. Premiered September 25th, 2024. The Coven faces their first perilous trial on the Witch's Road.
All right, overall thoughts. Chris, what do you think?
Let the wild rumpus start.
Lauren?
I mean, I wouldn't have thought to use poison as a magical get-along shirt, but I guess if it works.
Come on, a never-ending bottle of wine? Count me in. Michelle?
Trial by Suburbia. That was interesting.
All right, so we're going to start talking about our poor departed Mrs. Hart. Sharon who? Sharon Davis. Yes. She was foreshadowed the entire episode, what was going on. Bury me in this kitchen, several different iterations, and at the end, she ends up dead. Or is she? We're going to go with yes, and then we'll play around with if she is. So, Michelle?
Well, if she is, then we know how dangerous the road can be. If she's not, then I wonder if she's going to wake up and actually be the Green Witch.
I don't think she's going to be the Green Witch because there's a spoiler out there that says somebody else is. So I think that will put a cap in our conversation on that for now. But Chris, what do you think?
That works really well for my thoughts because I'm just doubling down on this. Sharon's Blackheart.
Hey, Lauren?
I have no idea whether Sharon is dead or not. It could go either way, I feel like. But I did love how in the captions, it kept calling her Mrs. Hart instead of Sharon. I watch with closed captions because I can hear, but I have sometimes issues where what I interpret is not what was said. So captions really, really help.
Captions have also spoiled a little bit of what the teen is. We won't get into that specifically right now, but yeah, I think captions are a little bit spoilery. And if you want to be spoiled, turn them on. If you don't want to be spoiled, turn them off. That's my recommendation there. All right. Michelle, talking about the teen, what's going on there?
Well, the teen is under a sigil. Like even the other witches can't learn about him. So they're trying to figure out why and who would do such a thing. And yeah, that's really odd.
I've got a note on that, by the way. It's difficult to tell if Sharon is a witch or not, because when the teen was talking and his mouth was mumbled or whatever, she was nowhere there. She had already left the road. So you don't know whether, like, if muggles could understand I'm just going to use that term. I don't know if it's appropriate in the MCU or not. But if muggles or non-witches can understand and are not affected by the sigil, then we don't know if Sharon would have understood who the teen was or not.
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, me neither.
Brings a whole nother level of how mysterious his existence is right now.
We touched upon it last time. I'm pretty sure that we have a good track on who the teen is, but we'll see as things go. We'll leave that open. Yeah, the teen. That's and he's transitioned, by the way. He's gone from just he saved Agatha from her, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, trapped in her mind in her stories. And then he was just along for the ride, but all of a sudden he's got a sense of urgency to him. I'm not sure where that sense of urgency is coming from. But yeah, definitely mysterious.
The part where they said, we should call your parents. And he's like, I'm pretty sure they're asleep or something like that.
Is asleep
That's
dead?
Is asleep dead? Is asleep just not present right now? What? I mean, we'll see.
Is asleep Agatha? Is Agatha the mom? And if so, who's the dad?
So, amusingly, I had to go check in the comics to see, okay, we know that in the comics, Nicholas Scratch is Agatha's son. We've talked about that before. It has never been revealed who his father is, as far as I could tell. I went to a few different Marvel 616 reference sites, and I couldn't find, it just says, father unknown.
I think the entire MCU fandom, though, squealed when they were watching this because they said the name.
Yes, we got the Mephisto mention. It was when Jennifer and the teen were talking and sort of like accusing, well, not really accusing Agatha, but saying Agatha has done all these things to sacrifice for power, including giving up her son, which was interesting because in Agatha's vision, we hear the baby crying. And then when she goes and she wants to reveal the baby instead of the baby, it's the book. So is there any credence to the fact that she actually gave up her son for power, but the teen was like, she could never do anything like that. It's like the teen wants to believe the good in Agatha. He's a bit Luke Skywalker with the whole, there's still good in there.
Not sure there is, especially after the events that we witnessed in WandaVision, but we'll leave it open. It is Disney. Everybody's redeemable, I guess.
Plus, again, in the comics in 616, Agatha is a good guy. So the thing that I kept thinking of when we heard about that rumor, in episode, I can't remember, of WandaVision, when Billy and Tommy, they have that dog, Sparks, and it dies. And they come up and they tell her, like, come on, you can fix anything. You could raise the dead. And I remember it because it was the first time that I felt like we were getting Agatha not acting. When she says, you can do that? So I'm really curious, like, is this a misunderstanding? Is her son dead? What happened? And we only got little tastes. So I'm curious. I'm really looking forward to finding out.
When you have that one episode where they actually go back in time, and that's where you get the song Agatha All Along. You get the point where she brings the dog to them and said it had eaten, I forget what it was, some leaves or something that was poisonous to the dog, and I got to the dog too late. But then she revealed that it was Agatha all along, and the dog actually was killed by her. And I think that was intentional. I get what you're saying about, I think that wasn't her acting. I think that was her acting because she was testing Wanda because she knew that Vision had died and that she brought Vision back. And then she was trying to test her to see if she could do it again in WandaVision. So I don't know if that was acting or not with her, but she definitely knows that it is possible. And it looks like she would love that power. Along those lines, what is Agatha, what is she playing here? What's her goal?
I've got no idea going on, because she got all these people together to go on the road, but she kind of had to be convinced to go on the road anyway, it seems like, unless she was pretending on there too. She's trying to make sure that they know all the rules so that they can get done what they need to get done, but she doesn't want to follow all the rules herself. Like, we saw her not drinking the wine, not getting poisoned, trying to stay out of everything else, trying to leave the house instead of completing the trial. And I don't understand what she's playing here, because she's refusing to play herself. She just seems to want everybody else to play the game.
All right, so this brings up the fact that, did she go down the road before or not? If she went down the road before, she would know that there would be these trials here and that she would have to do trials. Might not be necessarily the same trial, so she might not know exactly what the trials are, but she knows that there are trials. And even she says, okay, let's just get the show on the road. Let's go ahead and do it. So my question along those paths is, has she gone down the road before, or is it just lore that she did and all the other witches gossiped and it became a thing that she actually did? It seems like this is almost the first time that she's been down the road. So I think she was just forced down the road to try to get her power back, and the fact that she was being chased by those 7.
Yeah, I think it's lore. I think that Agatha has a lot of myths and hearsay about her that she probably encouraged. She comes off as incredibly selfish. I just saw the little witch flying by in the back of Chris's background. That's wonderful. Because this show is about her, it's a bit of her hero's journey. And she is starting very, very far back. She is a hero who tried to ignore the call. I think we will see her become much more heroic by the end. But right now, she's still very much in the, okay, rules for thee, but not for me. Technically correct is the best kind of correct. Maybe I can trick these weirdos into doing all the hard work so I don't have to.
Well, also, we get the episodic format of the entire season, or the bulk of it anyway, where you're going to be going through trials and each witch will be tested. So we had the potions witch this time around, and then we're going to get the other witches as we go forward, which means eventually we will need a green witch. Also, did you guys, the escape from the house, when it was being flooded by water and they all jump into the oven and they're going down the slide. A lot of people online have been saying, oh, that looks like Goonies. I also think, if you hadn't seen it, there's this little movie in the early 80s called Romancing the Stone. And there was this epic mudslide scene, which was very similar. And it ended very adult suggestively, but still showable on network TV today. But yeah, those were the two things I was thinking: Goonies and Romancing the Stone. Did you guys have any flashbacks to either?
I was thinking of Hansel and Gretel, which is in an oven.
Yeah, but the water slide itself?
Also, amusingly, like I mentioned last week, Patti LuPone, who plays Lilia, she was the original Mrs. Lovett in Sweeney Todd. And spoiler for a however many years old musical, at the end, she dies by being thrown into an oven. So those were the two things I thought of.
Yeah, she actually makes that reference. I had a friend who ended up in an oven and it didn't go very well. But yeah, it was very Goonies, especially since they were running into each other at the end. You heard the thud, the thud, the thud.
All right, so we get the knowledge that don't venture off the path. The path is just giving the trials as they walk along. They're without their shoes still.
a thing about the path. First off, of course, follow the Yellow Brick Road reference. We've mentioned previously there's some Wizard of Oz little hints here and there. But what I really thought of at that moment when Sharon tries to go off the path and rest is The Hobbit, particularly the book. Because there's a part where they're in Mirkwood and they're supposed to stay on this path, but they're hungry and the elves are taunting them. And at one point they decide to try and they get lured off the path by a white hart, a deer. And it's kind of typical in fairy lore in general is that you have these creatures who will try to lure you off the path and into danger. So I thought that was a nice little mythology touch there.
All right, so we're going to see Mephisto because he was well, I don't know if we're going to see Mephisto or not, but I don't know if you guys realize it or not. Mephisto has been cast for Ironheart. So the MCU is actually going to show Mephisto. And I can't think of a better way to introduce Mephisto than through here somehow. So I'm thinking that there's strong odds that we're going to see Mephisto based on that. That should be exciting to a few people, I guess. Also, I rewatched WandaVision, and rewatching WandaVision, she does say to Agatha, I will see you again. At the end, when she is wiping her of her memory and condemning her to live in Westview, she does see, I will see you again. Now, could that have happened between then and when she died in the MCU? I don't know, but I would very much like to see a Wanda cameo. It would also maybe perhaps prove that she survived what happened to her in the MCU. So some interesting possibilities as we go forward. Now, Lauren, as our Wiccan expert on the show, can you tell me about Sigil? What's going on with that?
Okay, so early in the episode, they say that the teen has a sigil on him. And the way they explain it, I'm like, that's not what a sigil is. So a sigil in general, without getting into any magical implications, is like a seal or a symbol. And a sigil in magic is the pictorial signature of an angel or a demon. You get a lot of these references in things like the Lesser Key of Solomon and in demonology, quote unquote. It's a symbol that you can use to call on this, being that you're trying to summon. So I don't think that we're going to get that particular version of what a sigil is here. I think here it's just supposed to be like a seal on the teen to keep, I don't know, knowledge away from witches, something. I don't know. Also, amusingly enough, so Aubrey Plaza is in this movie. Aubrey Plaza is also in Scott Pilgrim, the movie, and the anime. But whenever the teen, who I'm still convinced is Billy, is talking and he says his name and then we see his mouth kind of blur, it reminded me of Aubrey Plaza and Scott Pilgrim. How are you doing that thing with your mouth? Because in the movie and comic and everything, whenever she cusses, whenever Aubrey Plaza, her character cusses, she gets that black screen over her mouth, like the censor screen. I don't think it's supposed to be a reference, but it amused me.
So let's go into the visions really quickly that each witch had. You had the mom for Alice Wu, right? And that she had played in Red Rocks and what happened to her. You had the Darkhold for Agatha. And again, that could just be lore that she traded the Darkhold for her child, right? What about the others?
So Lilia, the first one, well, no, she's not the first one. Technically, Sharon is kind of the first one because she we don't see from her point of view, but we hear her and she's saying like, Wanda, let him breathe. Back in the first episode of WandaVision, when it was supposed to be Mrs. Hart and her husband coming over for dinner, and as her husband is kind of poking at them, trying to get more information, he starts choking. And it was an incredibly unnerving moment in the show when it goes from bewitched to kind of terrifying. So she's still thinking of that. In this whole, like, you're going to have to confront your greatest fears thing. So then with Lilia, she sees this very well-dressed Italian woman from, I would say, the Renaissance period. And when we see her again later, we see that same woman, but behind what looks like a corpse of another Italian woman. So I'm wondering, is she connected to the Borgias somehow? Like Lucrezia Borgia very famously poisoned her enemies. And with Jen, when she's trying to get this potion under control and everything, we see this very... It reminded me of the remake of House on Haunted Hill, the way this doctor was dressed. So, like, 1920s mental asylum. He's talking very threateningly to her, and he tries to drown her, which we know that back in the day, that was a thing that they used to do to quote-unquote cure patients, was various water tortures. And then, of course, we have Alice. She sees her mother backstage saying that, I felt your grandmother die. I wasn't able to protect her. And like reaching out to her. And it's kind of terrifying. I think we're going to see more as the show goes along of these things that are their greatest fears. Again, Agatha hearing the baby cry, opening the blanket, and it's just the dark hold. I think we're going to see more of these traumas as this go on. But right now, we're just getting little bits of foreshadowing, or backshadowing, whatever you would call it.
Yeah, there's stuff that brought up that it wasn't just a one-off. You're going to see it again. Like the doctor, for instance. You're going to see the doctor again. All right, guys. We're starting to wrap it up. Is there anything else that you wish to say about the episode? I have a question for our listeners. I actually brought it up before, and the question is, do you think that we're going to see either Mephisto or Wanda in the rest of this series? So you can go ahead and contact us and let us know your thoughts on that. We have a few episodes left. We're about a third through, so I think we got about 6 episodes left or so. And I have another question for the audience. So we haven't really been covering the news in the MCU for a while. Part of that was because production had really shut down as part of the pandemic and slow to come back because of slow ratings and that sort of stuff. So we really haven't covered a segment. So if you would like us to cover the MCU news, not the MCO news going forward, if you'd let us know that and let us know if that's your desire. Otherwise, we will just continue on the way that we are going. So with that, any last thoughts? Lauren?
We got just a taste of backstory here, like enough to get us hooked. And I'm really curious what we're going to see in the next few weeks.
Michelle?
Let the teen being Agatha's son theories begin.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what happens there. Chris?
I'm really hoping that they're not going to soft lock themselves out of winning the road, especially because it would be Agatha's fault. But we probably knew that all along.
My question is, who is Sharon? I think that question still needs to be answered. So next episode, we're going to be talking about the next episode in the Agatha All Along miniseries, season 1, episode 4, and looking forward to that next Saturday. In the meantime, at the end of October, the 26th of October, I will be in Indianapolis at VoltCon. You're welcome to come and join and partake. And if you see me, pat me on the shoulder and say hi. I would very much like to talk to you. But once again, that is October 26th, 2024 in Indianapolis at VoltCon. You can find all the details out at voltcon.org. All right, Lauren, where can people get a hold of us?
Well, You can find us at our website, legendsofshield.com. You can let us know what you think about any of the various things we've talked about at 844 the bus one. That's 844-843-2871. You can also join our Discord server and give us feedback there, talk about your theories at gonnageek.com/Discord. And remember, we are a proud member of the gonnageek.com network.
All right, guys, that's it for this week. Until next time, I'm the Director SP.
I'm Agent Lauren.
I'm Agent Michelle.
And I'm Agent Chris.
See everybody next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
You know, that really was a nice kitchen.
Oh, I know.
Kitchen to die for. Although,
I was delighted when they brought out the sous vide.
it doesn't boil the water, though, right?
No, it just heats it.
All right. That was pretty cool.
Now I want sous vide steak again.
Me too.
Thank you for listening. The intro music heard on this podcast is Great Marvels of the World by Lynn Publishing, found on pond5.com. The outro music heard on this podcast is Cinematic Trailer by Ed Records, found on audiojungle.net. Other transitional music on this podcast is found on incompetech.com, audiojungle.net, and pond5.com. For more information about this podcast, please visit legendsofshield.com. Excelsior!
Oh, it's going to be October. Yay.
The rest of the world will accept that it is spooky season.
Yep. I can't believe how all out some people go to decorate for Halloween now.
Halloween is the best holiday.
Well, yeah, but when I was a kid, it really wasn't. Some people go Christmas level, which is cool.
We have one family here. They put up the giant skeletons on the side of their house for Halloween and then find excuses to keep them up for months.
So they have skeletons in their Christmas?
Yeah, they put Christmas stuff on them and stuff.
Yay!
Oh, I wanted to mention, what's her name from Harry Potter passed away?
Maggie Smith.
Maggie
Yeah.
Smith. Yeah.
I always
Oh,
think
she
of her
did?
from, 80. Yesterday, she was 89.
Oh, wow.
I always think of her from like Clash of the Titans and The Secret Garden and Sister Act.
She had quite the career.
Yeah.
And I guess, fortunately, a very young part of the population knows her as Mrs. McDougal, right? From Harry
Professor
Potter's...
McGonagall. Yeah.
Excuse me, Professor
Yeah.
McGonagall. So you will get her in their lexicon for the next 50, 60 years. So, that's cool.
Yeah. Little touch of immortality.
Legends of S.H.I.E.L.D. is copyright 2013 through 2024.